Well, hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Ask Pastor Keith. Pastor Keith, how are you doing
I'm
today?
fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there. All
Okay.
right. So we have a question from one of our church members, and so I have a question for you. And the question is, um, I'm older and single, but I still want to get married. What should I do?
Okay. It's a very practical question,
Yes.
but I want to just give it from the biblical perspective. I think Corinthians talks about that, First Corinthians. So number one is that some people have a misunderstanding that Bible, the church, teaches that everyone should get married. That's not true. In fact, in the First Corinthians letter, Paul talks about singleness as well as married life, and that they are both very well. It is. I don't know what to say. Embraced
Both
by
good.
the church. You
Yeah.
can you can change that later on. So it's both embraced by the church in that particular setting where Paul was in Corinthian setting, which is very commercialized city, all the trades and mixture of culture, religion, and everything else. Paul actually encouraged them to stay single if they can. If they cannot, of course, when they get married, it's not sinning or anything like that. So let's get that out of the way. Both singleness and the married life are embraced by the church and teachings of the scripture. With that said, Paul's teaching goes on like this. It says, when you become a believer, if you're single, don't be so in a hurry to get married and change the status. Vice versa, when you're married, don't try to get out of the marriage, nor if you are circumcised or uncircumcised, if you're a free man or a slave. Paul goes on to say, do not try to change the situation outside, but work on the inside. That's more important. And exception of slavery, if you can afford it, buy yourself out of freedom so that you don't have any obligation to other people, but to serve the Lord. Everything is about serving the Lord. So in that setting, Paul says it is more important that you become more Christ-like, and change is more important than changing the scenery, whether it be marriage or slavery or whatever else. With that said, so I talked to this person. I'm older and single and want to get married. That's good. And what should I do? That part I don't know how to answer. But according to Paul, it says work on your inside, and I would interpret it like this: be very satisfied with yourself, enjoy the time singleness to the max, and um, don't long for the marriage as if the marriage will start your life. Your life has to be full before the marriage. So your service unto the Lord, your social life, your sets of hobbies, your career pursuit, and all those things has to be full, and you need to be satisfied with yourself. A person who's content uh, with herself or himself is very attractive. But if a person feel like they are not complete until they find somebody and to latch on to, then they become complete or they start living, then they become very unattractive. They are in need. They're needy, and a lot of people, healthy people, will stay away from that kind of person. And only the people with a problem will be attracted to that needy person. And so psychologically or their spiritual life wise, they need to be engaged fully with life, and they should not have a holding pattern until someone comes along that I can have happy life. That is a myth. that will not happen. Even the marriage will not change that. The happiness comes from within. And so that person needs to be fully engaged in servicing in a church opportunities, put that person out, be exposed outside. And along with that, at this day and age, I would even encourage online, exposure. Of course, you need buyers be aware. You need to know what you're doing. At the same time, our life and schedule are so tight that we don't have time to meet other people outside. This will only increase your exposure, from which you need to practice your discernment, exercise your discernment, and to choose the right person, of course. But being casting a wider net is not a problem or sin or anything like that. And so I guess number one is being single is fine. It's not something that you're going against the teaching of the scripture. Number two, work on the inside and be satisfied and fully engaged with this life right now as a single. That will enhance or make you more attractive to other people. And do not rely on other people for happiness. So I would say this to people: if you're a man, just hanging out with a single older man will not change anything. If you're a woman, same thing. It's hanging out with the older women only. That's not going to change anything. You need to kind of separate yourself and be exposed in other areas. So be engaged in the many ministry opportunities, and also learn how to enjoy the solitude to build yourself up rather than change the scenery outside. And also increase the exposure by online dating and whatnot, and through the friends. Put yourself out there and enjoy life as it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your perspectives and clarity and your advice. It's helping me already too as well to kind of
Okay.
have a.
You're already married.
I'm already married, but it's still helpful.
Okay.
And so, thank you for joining in. Be sure to come back every week and listen to our podcast and watch it and grow. All of us grow as a follower of Jesus. Thank you for coming in. Join us next week.